My fiancée texted, "I'm pregnant, let's name the baby." After my ex, it's more meaningful. So I drove to his house to congratulate him. His wife answered the door. "All right, Reddit, buckle up because this story is absolutely wild." 2 weeks before my wedding, my fiancé sent me a text that made my blood run cold. And what I discovered after that, let's just say the trash took itself out in the most spectacular way possible. I'm a 32-year-old logistics coordinator for a mid-sized shipping company in Pennsylvania. Started there right out of college 10 years ago as a warehouse associate. Worked my way up through inventory management, then operations, and finally into coordination. Decent job pulling in $68,000 annually. Own my condo that I bought 5 years ago. Drive a paid-off 2016 Honda Accord with 89,000 pen-me that runs like a dream. Nothing fancy, but I'm comfortable and completely debt-free except the mortgage. Been engaged to Claire for 8 months, together for 3 years total. Met her at my buddy Troy's 4th of July party back in 2020. She was friends with Troy's girlfriend. Showed up in jean shorts and a tank top. Had this laugh that made everyone turn and look. We hit it off immediately. Talked for 3 hours straight about everything from our favorite bands to our terrible high school experiences. The first year was great. She'd come over after work, we'd cook dinner together, watch movies, talk about our days. She seemed genuinely interested in my job. Asked questions about shipping logistics like she actually cared. Made me feel appreciated in a way my ex never did. That ex had constantly complained I was too boring and too focused on work. Claire was different. Or so I thought. By year 2, we'd moved in together. Well, she moved into my condo. Made sense since I owned it and her lease was ending. She contributed $800 monthly toward utilities and groceries, which was fair since I covered the mortgage, HOA fees, and property taxes. We split everything else 60-40 since I made about $18,000 more than her annually. Claire works as a dental hygienist at a family practice downtown. Makes around $50,000 with benefits. Decent gig, but she'd complain constantly about difficult patients. The dentist being demanding, having to work Saturdays twice a month. I'd listen, offer solutions, try to be supportive. Looking back, I wonder how much of that complaining was just noise to cover up other things. She drives a leased 2021 Mazda CX-5 that I co-signed for when her credit score came back at 620. The dealership wouldn't approve her a loan, so I put my name on it to help her out. Monthly payment of $380 that she handled herself, but my credit was on the line if she missed payments. Should have been a red flag right there. Financially linking myself to someone whose credit was questionable. Wedding was set for May 14th. We'd been planning for 6 months. Venue booked at this barn-style event space about 40 minutes outside the city. $4,500 deposit non-refundable. Caterer locked in at $3,800 for 120 guests. Photographer costing $1,500. DJ at $800. Florist at $1,200. My suit rental was $300. Her dress was $2,200 that her parents paid for. Invitations, decorations, all the little stuff added another grand easily. Total budget was around $18,000 with her parents covering about $5,000 of it. I'd paid $14,800 out of my savings. Money I'd been setting aside for years. Money that was now looking like it might have been completely wasted. Our relationship seemed solid for the most part. We split bills fairly, rarely fought about money or chores, had the same taste in movies and food, enjoyed the same friend group. On paper, everything looked perfect. We were that couple people envied. Stable jobs, nice place, wedding coming up, talking about buying a house in a few years and maybe starting a family. But there were small things I'd brushed off over the past 6 months. Little red flags I'd ignored because I didn't want to be that paranoid boyfriend who questioned everything. The way she'd get defensive when I asked about her day. Why do you need to know every detail? She'd snap when I'd ask how work went. I'd back off, figure she was just stressed. How she'd angle her phone away from me when texting. We'd be sitting on the couch watching TV and her phone would buzz. She'd immediately tilt it away, type quickly, then set it face down. When I asked who she was texting, it was always just Rachel or just someone from work, never any details. The occasional girls' night that would stretch until 2 a.m. with vague explanations. She'd text around 8 p.m., saying she was grabbing dinner with coworkers, then wouldn't come home until past midnight. When I asked how dinner turned into 5 hours, she'd say they went to another bar afterward or someone needed to vent about relationship problems or traffic was terrible. Always an explanation, always plausible enough that I didn't push. Her phone habits changed too. Started keeping it with her constantly. Used to leave it charging on the counter when she showered. Now it went into the bathroom with her. Used to scroll social media on the couch next to me. Now she'd take it into the bedroom or the bathroom for privacy. I'm not the jealous type, so I gave her space and trusted her. Figured everyone needs privacy. Figured I was just being paranoid because my ex had cheated and I was projecting old trauma onto a new relationship. Big mistake. My buddy Troy had warned me around Christmas. We were at his place watching football and he asked how wedding planning was going. Good, man. Expensive, but good. Claire still acting weird with her phone. I looked at him. What do you mean, dude? At the Halloween party, she was texting someone and literally hid her screen when I walked by to grab another drink. Like fully turned away from me. That's sketchy behavior. She's probably just texting about wedding stuff. Wants to surprise me. Troy gave me this look. Whatever you say, man, just keep your eyes open. I should have listened to him. Should have trusted that gut feeling that something was off. But I was too invested, too close to the wedding, too committed to believing everything was fine. 3 weeks before the wedding, mid-April, she started acting noticeably different, more distant, distracted during conversations, barely interested in wedding planning. We'd be sitting at dinner and I'd ask about finalizing the seating chart, and she'd just shrug and say, "Whatever you think is best." This from the woman who'd spent 2 hours debating whether her cousin should sit at table 4 or table 7. She stopped initiating affection. Used to kiss me goodbye every morning before work. That stopped. Used to text me during her lunch break. That stopped too. When I asked if something was wrong, she'd get irritated. I'm fine. Why are you always asking if something's wrong? Can't I just have a bad day without you interrogating me? When I asked if she was getting cold feet about the wedding, she laughed it off and blamed work stress. The dental office was understaffed. She said 2 hygienists had quit within a month. She was covering extra shifts. Patients were demanding. Her boss, Dr. Palmer, was writing her about scheduling efficiency and patient satisfaction scores. All reasonable explanations that I accepted without question because I wanted to believe her. I'm just exhausted, she'd say, curling up on the opposite end of the couch from me. Wedding planning is overwhelming. Work is terrible. I just need space to decompress. So I gave her space, stopped asking questions, stopped pushing for affection. Figured once the wedding was over and she could relax, things would go back to normal. Looking back, that was probably when it was happening, when she was with him. While I was giving her space to decompress, she was probably decompressing with her ex. The betrayal of it burns even now. Tuesday afternoon, April 30th. I'm at my desk reviewing shipment manifests for a major client delivery. 3 containers coming in from overseas, coordinating with trucking companies to get everything distributed to 5 different warehouses. Complex logistics that required my full attention. My phone buzzes around 2:15 p.m. Text from Claire. I'm expecting something routine. Maybe asking what I want for dinner or confirming she's stopping by the store or reminding me about some wedding task. I glance at my screen and my entire world stops. Honey, I'm pregnant. My heart literally stopped for a second. Then it started racing like I just sprinted up 10 flights of stairs while carrying a 100-pound. Pregnant. We were having a baby. Holy crap. I was going to be a father. The smile hit my face before my brain even fully processed the information. My coworker at the next desk looked over. "You good, man? You look like you just won the lottery." "Claire's pregnant," I said, still staring at my phone. "Dude, congratulations, that's awesome." It was awesome. This was massive. This changed everything. This made our upcoming wedding even more perfect. Starting our family right away, building our life together with a kid on the way, becoming parents together. Everything was falling into place exactly how it was supposed to. My mind was already racing ahead. We'd need to look at houses with more space. My condo was only 2 bedrooms. We could convert the office into a nursery, but eventually we'd need more room. Maybe start looking in the suburbs where schools were better. I'd need to increase my life insurance. Start a college fund immediately. Calculate our budget with daycare costs. I kept reading, expecting details. How far along was she? When did she find out? Had she taken a test or been to the doctor? I'm thinking of putting my ex's name on the birth certificate. It's more meaningful. The smile died instantly. The excitement vanished like someone had dumped ice water over my head. I read it again, then again. My brain absolutely refused to accept what I was seeing. She wants to name our baby after her ex-boyfriend. More meaningful. Those were her exact words. More meaningful than what? Than me, the actual father. She wants to name our baby after her ex-boyfriend. More meaningful. Those were her exact words. More meaningful than what? Than me, the actual father. The excitement that had flooded through me 30 seconds earlier turned into something cold and sharp in my chest. A physical pain like someone had reached in and squeezed my heart with an icy fist. Why would she even say that? Why would naming our child after another man cross her mind? Unless there was a reason, a genuine, horrible reason. My coworker was still talking. "So when's the baby due? You guys must be excited." "Excuse me," I interrupted, standing up so fast my chair rolled back and hit the wall. I walked to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and sat there staring at that message until my screen went dark. Turned it back on, read it again. The words hadn't changed. My hands started shaking. Not from anger yet. That would come later. This was something worse. Doubt, fear, uncertainty about everything I thought I knew about my life, my relationship, my future. What if this baby wasn't mine? The thought hit me like a freight train demolishing a car stuck on the tracks. She didn't confess to anything directly. She didn't say, "I cheated," or "The baby's not yours." But why else would she mention her ex's name in the same breath as announcing a pregnancy? People don't think like that unless there's a connection, unless there's guilt trying to surface, unless they're trying to prepare you for information they're afraid to tell you directly. I tried to think back to when we last had sex. 2 weeks ago, 3. It had been a while because she kept saying she was too tired, too stressed, not in the mood. We used to have a healthy, intimate life 2 or 3 times a week. Over the past month, it had dropped to maybe once, and the last time had been different. She'd seemed distracted, distant, like she was going through the motions but mentally somewhere else. If she was pregnant, how far along was she? When did she find out? Why didn't she tell me in person? Why send this massive and that comment, that insane, stupid, revealing comment about her ex's name being more meaningful? Zachary, her ex-boyfriend from before we met. She'd mentioned him exactly 3 times in 3 years. Once when showing me photos from her college graduation. He was in the background of a group shot. Once when we drove through his neighborhood and she pointed it out casually, mentioned he'd gotten married and bought a house. And once when we ran into mutual friends who asked about him and she said they hadn't talked in years. Why would his name be meaningful for our baby? Unless it wasn't our baby, unless it was his baby. I typed back with fingers that didn't feel like my own. "What? Great news. Congratulations." Sarcasm felt safer than confrontation right then. Safer than typing what I actually wanted to say, which was, "Are you out of your mind?" I needed information before making accusations, needed to see her reactions, gauge her responses, figure out what was actually happening, because right then all I had was a horrible gut feeling and one incredibly suspicious text message. But that gut feeling was screaming at me like a fire alarm at 3 o'clock in the morning. I sat there for maybe 10 more minutes running through scenarios in my head. Best case, she made some incredibly poor joke that wasn't funny. She'd clarify. We'd laugh about the misunderstanding. Everything would be fine. Worst case, she cheated, got pregnant, and was trying to prepare me for the truth by floating her ex's name to see how I'd react. Most likely case. Worst case was the actual case. I grabbed my jacket from my desk and walked straight out of the office. Didn't tell anyone where I was going. Didn't clock out properly, didn't care. My supervisor, Gary, called after me from his office. "Hey, where are you headed? We've got the client call at 3. I didn't answer. Just kept walking through the warehouse floor, past the loading docks, out to the parking lot. Got in my car and just sat there gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. My phone buzzed. "Claire again. I'm so happy you're excited. We should celebrate tonight. Maybe that steakhouse you love." Excited? Sure. That's exactly what I was feeling. Not sick to my stomach, not betrayed before I even knew for certain there was a betrayal. Not filled with rage and confusion and this awful certainty that my entire life was built on lies. Totally excited. She wanted to celebrate. Wanted to take me to dinner and pretend everything was fine. Wanted to sit across from me at a steakhouse and talk about baby names while lying about who the father actually was. The nerve of it was breathtaking. I needed to talk to someone who might give me answers before confronting her directly. Someone whose reaction would tell me everything I needed to know. Someone who would panic if there was something to panic about. I pulled up my Maps app, knew exactly where Zachary lived. Claire had pointed out his neighborhood once during a drive maybe 6 or 7 months back. We'd been on our way to visit her parents, took a detour to avoid construction, and ended up driving through this newer development with nice 2-story houses. "Oh, that's where Zachary lives," she'd said casually, gesturing vaguely at the street. "He bought a house here with his wife. Settled down. You know, funny how life works out." At the time, it seemed like innocent small talk. People mentioned their exes sometimes. No big deal. She wasn't pining after him or comparing me to him or suggesting we should buy a house in the same neighborhood. Just a casual observation that her ex had moved on and was doing well. Now it felt different. Now it felt like reconnaissance. Like she'd wanted me to know where he lived for some reason. Like maybe she'd been thinking about him more than she let on. The drive took 40 minutes through afternoon traffic. 40 minutes of my brain cycling through every possible explanation, trying to find one that didn't end with my world falling apart. Maybe she was joking. Terrible joke, but possible. Maybe she had some weird sentimental connection to the name that she'd explain later. Maybe I was overreacting and about to make a complete fool of myself by showing up at a stranger's house, making wild accusations. But that phrase kept playing on repeat in my head like a song I couldn't shake. More meaningful than the actual father's name. How does that make sense unless the actual father is someone else? How does that make any logical sense at all? Unless she's trying to tell me something she's afraid to say directly. Unless this is her guilt surfacing in the worst possible way. Unless she's testing me to see if I'll figure it out on my own so she doesn't have to confess. I pulled up to a 2-story house with beige siding, dark shutters, and a neat front lawn that looked professionally maintained. A blue Honda Civic sat in the driveway next to a silver Toyota RAV4. Married couple cars, 2-car garage, 2-car driveway, 2-person life. I parked across the street and stared at the house for a solid minute. What was I doing? Was I about to accuse a man I'd never met of sleeping with my fiancée based on one weird text? Yes, because that text was too specific to be random, too strange to be innocent. And if I was wrong, I'd apologize and leave. But if I was right, I needed to see his face when I brought it up. Needed to watch him squirm. Maybe he'd confess, maybe he'd panic. Either way, I'd know more than I did sitting in my car spiraling. I walked up to the front door and knocked. 3 solid knocks. My heart was pounding, but my face was calm. A woman opened the door. Blonde, athletic build, mid-30s. Zachary's wife, probably. "Can I help you?" she asked, looking confused at the stranger on her porch. Hi, sorry to bother you. Is Zachary home? He's at work. Can I ask who you are? I pulled out my phone and showed her the text from Claire. Watched her eyes scan the words, watched her face change from confused to shocked to something I couldn't quite identify. I'm Claire's fiancé, I said quietly. She just sent me this. I don't know what it means, but I'm hoping your husband might have some insight. Her hand went to her mouth. What? Why would she say that? That's what I'm trying to figure out. She stepped back from the door, pulling her phone from her pocket. I need to call him. This is insane. I agree. Mind if I wait? She nodded, distracted, already dialing. I could hear her voice shaking as she told Zachary to come home immediately. She didn't explain why, just kept saying it was urgent. She hung up and looked at me like I was a bomb about to explode on her front porch. He'll be here in 20 minutes. He works nearby. Thank you. We stood there in the most awkward silence I've ever experienced. She kept glancing at my phone screen like she needed to read that message again to confirm it was real. I kept my face neutral while my mind screamed. A truck drove by slowly. The driver obviously curious about the stranger on his neighbor's porch. I ignored him. My phone buzzed. Claire calling. I declined it. She could wait. I needed this conversation first. 18 minutes later, the silver SUV came speeding down the street and jerked into the driveway. Zachary jumped out. Tall, fit, wearing business casual clothes. He saw me standing there with his wife, and his face went pale. What's going on? He demanded, looking between us. I held up my phone. Claire sent me this today. Thought you might want to see it. He took the phone, read the message, and his expression went from confused to horrified in seconds. What the hell? I haven't talked to Claire in years. Then why would she mention your name? His wife asked, voice sharp. I don't know. He looked genuinely panicked now, which was interesting. Innocent people get confused. Guilty people panic. This doesn't make any sense. I took my phone back. She's pregnant. Says she wants to put your name on the birth certificate because it's more meaningful. You're telling me that means nothing to you? Absolutely nothing. His voice went up an octave. I'm married. I haven't been anywhere near. His wife's eyes were filling with tears. Then why would she say this? I don't know. Maybe she's lying. Maybe she's trying to start something between us. I don't know. I watched him carefully. He was defensive, sure, but was it genuine defensiveness or covering guilt? When's the last time you saw Claire? I asked. He looked at his wife, then back at me. I don't know. Maybe a year ago, at the grocery store. We said hi. Caught up for like 2 minutes. That was it. You're lying, his wife said suddenly. You saw her 3 weeks ago. The silence that followed was deafening. What? Zachary's face drained of color. I saw a text on your phone from someone named C saying thanks for last night. You said it was your coworker Chris, but it wasn't, was it? He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. I felt my stomach drop. There it was, the confirmation I'd been dreading. Oh my God, his wife whispered. You slept with her. Natalie, I can explain. Did you sleep with my fiancée? I interrupted, my voice cold. He looked at me, then at his wife, then at the ground. It was one time, one stupid mistake. She called me out of nowhere, said she needed to talk. We met for coffee and what? Natalie was crying now. You just decided to destroy our marriage? I didn't mean for it to happen. You never do, I said flatly. But it happened, and now she's pregnant with your baby. The way his face went completely white told me everything. He knew. He'd known this whole time and was hoping to keep it buried. You need to take a paternity test, Natalie said, voice shaking. Right now, today. I don't think, Zachary started. I don't care what you think, she snapped. You're taking a paternity test, and if that baby is yours, I want a divorce. I pulled up a lab on my phone. There's a clinic 15 minutes from here. They do same-day prenatal paternity testing. Let's go. Zachary looked like he wanted to disappear into the ground. I can't just leave work. You're going, Natalie said. Now. The three of us drove to the clinic in the most uncomfortable convoy imaginable. Me in my Honda. Them in their SUV, probably having the worst fight of their marriage. I called Claire on the way. Hey, are you ready to celebrate? She answered, all fake cheerfulness. I'm at a paternity clinic with Zachary. We need you here immediately. Dead silence. What are you talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Get here now or I'm making decisions without you. I hung up before she could respond. At the clinic, the process was surprisingly fast. They just needed a cheek swab from Zachary and me. Plus, they'd need blood from Claire when she arrived for the prenatal portion. Results in 3 to 5 business days, but they offered expedited results for an extra $400. I paid it. Zachary didn't even offer. Claire showed up 20 minutes later looking terrified. She tried to hug me. I stepped back. Just do the test. Can we talk first? No. She looked at Zachary. He wouldn't meet her eyes. Natalie was standing in the corner, arms crossed, looking like she wanted to set the entire building on fire. They took Claire back for the blood draw. When she came out, she tried again. This is all a misunderstanding. Save it, I said. We'll know the truth in 3 days. I walked out and drove home. Went straight to my spare room where we'd been storing wedding stuff. Started making calls. First call, the venue. I need to cancel the wedding. Sir, with only 2 weeks' notice, we can't refund the deposit. I understand, just cancel it. $3,500's gone, whatever. Second call, the caterer. Same story, $2,800 deposit lost. Third call, the DJ. At least he was sympathetic, refunded half. $400 back. Fourth call, the photographer. She refunded everything, won $500 back. Small miracle. I made a spreadsheet. Total wedding cost paid, $14,800. Potential recovery, $1,900. Net loss, $12,900. Claire was going to pay back every single penny. My phone buzzed constantly, Claire calling, texting, begging to talk. I ignored all of it. My buddy Troy called around 8 p.m. Bro, Claire just posted on Facebook asking people to pray for her during this difficult time. What's going on? She cheated on me with her ex, might be pregnant with his baby. We're waiting on paternity results. Holy crap, 2 weeks before the wedding? Yep. That's cold. What are you gonna do? Already canceled everything. If the baby's his, she's paying me back for the whole wedding. Troy let out a long whistle. Savage, need me to come over? Nah, I'm good. Just documenting everything for when she tries to spin this. Smart. Let me know if you need anything. And hey, at least you found out before the wedding, right? He had a point. Small blessings. Friday morning, 3 days later, I got the email. Opened it with hands that were surprisingly steady. Alleged father 1. Me. 0% probability of paternity. Alleged father 2. Zachary. 99.99% probability of paternity. There it was in black and white. Scientific proof that my fiancée cheated on me, got pregnant by her ex, and tried to pass it off as mine. I forwarded the results to Claire, Zachary, and Natalie. No message, just the attachment. Then I sat back and waited. Claire called immediately, sobbing. Please, we need to talk. It was a mistake. I love you. We can work through this. No. Please, I'll do anything. It was one stupid night. You're right. It was stupid. And now you're dealing with the consequences. I want every dollar I spent on this wedding, $12,900. You have 30 days. I don't have that kind of money. Figure it out. Sell something. Borrow from your parents. I don't care. You're paying me back every single dollar. That's not fair. I almost laughed. Fair? You cheated on me, got pregnant by your ex, tried to trick me into raising his baby, and you want to talk about fair? She had no response. Goodbye, Claire. I hung up and blocked her number. Then I called my parents. The wedding's off. Claire cheated. The baby isn't mine. I'll explain everything later. My mom gasped. My dad just said, you need anything, son? No, I'm good. 3 hours later, my phone rang. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Is this Claire's fiancé? Ex-fiancé, who's this? I'm Zachary's mother. I just found out about this whole mess. I want you to know, my son made a terrible mistake, but he's taking responsibility. He'll pay child support and be involved in the baby's life. Good for him. What does that have to do with me? Well, I was hoping we could all sit down and discuss how to handle this. For the baby's sake, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Ma'am, with all due respect, that baby has nothing to do with me. Your son and my ex-fiancé created this situation. They can handle it together. I want nothing to do with any of it. But surely you still care about Claire. I don't, not anymore. I hung up. Blocked that number too. Saturday morning, I sent a group text to both families. Family meeting at my parents' house at 2 p.m. Everyone needs to be there. Claire's mom called immediately. What's this about? You'll find out at 2. I showed up early, set up my laptop, printed copies of the paternity test. People arrived confused. My parents knew. Claire's family didn't. Claire arrived last, flanked by her parents. She looked destroyed. Her mom immediately went on the offensive. What's this about? Claire's been devastated all week. I handed everyone a copy of the paternity test. Percent probability of paternity, I said clearly. The baby isn't mine. Claire's mom went pale. Her dad looked like he'd been hit by a truck. Want to know whose it is? I turned to the page. 99.99% match with her ex-boyfriend, Zachary. Claire started crying. You cheated? Rachel whispered. While planning your wedding? It was a mistake. Claire sobbed. I didn't mean. A mistake that cost me $12,900, I cut in, which she's going to pay back every penny. Claire's dad protested they didn't have that kind of money. Then she'll figure it out. Amanda, Claire's sister, snapped that I was being cruel. Some mistakes have consequences, I said. This is one of them. And honestly, cruel would be pressing charges for fraud, which I could do. Silence. Does Zachary know? Michael asked quietly. He does. His wife filed for divorce yesterday. Claire sobbed harder. Her parents left quickly, humiliated. My family stayed. Are you okay? My dad asked. Better than okay, I said. I dodged a bullet. Within hours, word spread through our entire social circle like wildfire through dry grass. Friends started taking sides immediately. Most sided with me once they heard the facts. The text message, the paternity test, the whole sordid timeline. A few of Claire's friends tried defending her at first, calling me cruel and heartless for abandoning her in her time of need. Troy sent me screenshots of the Facebook arguments happening in mutual friend groups. Claire's friend Jessica posted some nonsense like, everyone makes mistakes. True love means forgiveness. Someone replied, true love doesn't involve getting pregnant by your ex 2 weeks before your wedding. That shut her up pretty quick. Another friend, someone I barely knew from Claire's dental office, posted a long rant about how I was punishing an innocent baby by refusing to be involved. Troy responded before I even saw it. The innocent baby has a biological father who can step up. Why should this guy raise another man's kid because the mother is a cheater? That comment got 47 likes. The social media war was exhausting to watch. People I hadn't talked to in years were suddenly messaging me asking for my side of the story. I sent the same response to everyone. A screenshot of the text message and a short note saying the paternity test proved the baby wasn't mine. Most people stopped asking after that. By Monday, Claire had deactivated all her social media, Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIn gone. Couldn't handle the backlash. The court of public opinion had spoken. Tuesday morning, I received a check in the mail from her parents for $5,000. A handwritten note was attached. It's all we can manage right now. The rest will come in monthly payments. We're deeply sorry for our daughter's behavior. You didn't deserve this. I appreciated it. Michael and Rachel were good people. It wasn't their fault their daughter detonated her life like a cartoon villain. I deposited the check immediately and drafted a formal payment plan agreement. $400 per month for 20 payments is $8,000 to cover the remaining $7,900 as owed. Included interest terms, late fee clauses, and a signature requirement. Sent it certified mail. They signed and returned it within 2 days. At least they understood accountability, even if Claire didn't. Wednesday, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Natalie, Zachary's wife, ex-wife now. Thank you for exposing the truth. I filed for divorce yesterday morning, taking him for everything. House, retirement accounts, his car. He destroyed our 5-year marriage for one night with his ex. You saved me from wasting more years with a cheater. I hope you're doing okay. I replied. We both deserved better than what they gave us. Good luck with everything. She responded with a thumbs-up emoji. It was strange. This bond with someone I'd only met once under the worst circumstances. But we were connected now, 2 strangers thrown into the same explosion. Thursday, I took the afternoon off and went to a clinic for full STD testing. It was humiliating sitting in the waiting room, explaining to the nurse why I needed comprehensive testing after a monogamous relationship. "How many partners have you had in the past year?" she asked. "I thought just one," I said. Turns out it was at least two. She gave me that look people give when they don't know how else to be sympathetic. "I'm sorry, we see this a lot." 3 days later, the results came back clean. Small mercy. At least Claire hadn't given me any permanent souvenirs. The following weeks were a blur of administrative cleanup, untangling a life I'd thought was shared, finalizing vendor cancellations, returning wedding gifts that had arrived early, explaining the situation over and over, updating my emergency contact forms at work, removing Claire from my life insurance, changing beneficiaries, removing her from my utility accounts. I boxed up everything she left at my condo: clothes, toiletries, expensive hair tools, the pile of romance novels on her nightstand, even her perfume that made my bathroom smell like heartbreak. I took it all to her parents' house one Saturday, knowing she was working. Michael answered the door. He looked drained. "I'll make sure she gets these," he said quietly. "And I want you to know, we raised her better than this. I don't know what happened, but this isn't who she's supposed to be." "I appreciate that. I know this isn't easy for you either. She's our daughter and we love her but what she did was wrong. Unforgivable, really." He shook his head. "The worst part is that she refuses to take responsibility. She keeps acting like she's the victim, like you are punishing her unfairly." "Consequences aren't punishment," I said. "They're just reality." He nodded slowly. "Exactly. We carried the boxes inside together. You're a good man," he said. "You'll land on your feet, Claire." "I'm not so sure." I understood what he meant. She'd made her bed, and now she had to lie in it, alone, pregnant, with a father who wanted nothing to do with her. A month later, through mutual friends, I heard Claire and Zachary were trying to figure out custody arrangements. Neither wanted a relationship. Both were stuck with an 18-year legal connection. His divorce cost him his house, half his retirement accounts, and apparently most of his dignity. Claire's family wasn't speaking to her much. Too embarrassed. She'd burned too many bridges. Meanwhile, I rebuilt. I hit the gym, reconnected with friends, focused on work. Got a raise after landing a major client. Slowly, life returned to normal. One Saturday, Troy came over with takeout. "So, how are you feeling? Like, really?" "Honestly, relieved. Can you imagine if I'd married her? Found out later the baby wasn't mine? That would have been nuclear. At least you found out early." That text message saved my life. Stupid as it was for her to send it, it saved me. Amen to that. You're gonna meet someone way better. Maybe, but I'm in no rush. Taking my time, learning from this, not ignoring red flags ever again. 6 months later, I got the final payment from Claire's parents. $2,900 total, fully reimbursed. I deposited the check and felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just closure. I'd moved into a new apartment downtown with an amazing view. Started dating again, slowly, casually. Found my confidence again. One day I ran into Claire at Target. She was visibly pregnant, looked exhausted, worn down. We made eye contact across the aisle. She opened her mouth to speak. I kept walking, nothing left to say. I heard through friends that Zachary was paying child support but refused to be involved beyond the minimum. His ex-wife remarried someone better. Claire was living with her parents, working part-time because she couldn't handle full days. She'd burned every bridge, made every wrong choice, and was now living the consequences. My family never mentioned her name again. That chapter was closed. Troy asked me one night, "Do you regret anything?" "Not for a second," I said. That text message was the universe warning me. 3 weeks ago, Claire texted from a new number. "I'm sorry for everything. I hope you're doing well." I blocked it without responding. Some apologies come too late to matter.